Okay, so for this next step, I want to show you something on the sewing machine. So I'm going to move the camera down here. This is what they call the free arm of the sewing machine, and you can see that it's completely open underneath, and that's really handy when it comes to our next step, because on our next step we're going to sew around the top, and we want to make sure that we don't accidentally sew the top of the bag closed. So we're going to slide the bag under our presser foot, and we're actually going to sew along our previous sewing line that we used to hem the top of this. So we're going to line up the presser foot. If you see the line right here in the middle of the presser foot, we're going to line that up with that line that we previously sewed on. And before we start, I want to make sure two things. I want to make sure that the straps are pulled through and they're actually coming out the top of the bag, okay? Because otherwise we're going to end up sewing those straps, and we don't want to sew the straps. The other thing with the straps is the strap that is inside our casing, we want to make sure it is pushed up against this top edge so that we don't catch it also while we're sewing. So I'm going to start by sewing, back stitching, and then I'm just going to sew right along that line, and as I'm sewing, I'm taking out my pins. And you're going to, when you go over the side seam, you're going over a lot of layers of fabric. You have probably about, oh goodness, 6 or 7 layers of fabric there. So you want to make sure that you go a little slower because you don't want to accidentally break a needle. And we're just going to keep going around the line that we sewed previously. And you might get a few puckers where your fabric bunches up, and that's okay. Just going to keep sewing all the way around the top of the bag. Okay, and here's my other strap. I'm going to make sure that that's pulled out and coming out the top of the bag. And here we go again, another seam. Slowing down a little bit. Keep going. Almost to where we started. Coming up to where we started, and I'm going to stop and back stitch.